I'm thinking a lot right now about the ways that we honor all that has come before, all those who have come before, and especially the ones that are forgotten, or maybe we don't honor or sing their praises enough. Or the ways that we honor not even just the who, but the what. Through ceremony and ritual and dance and art and expression of all of these different ways, that it is an honoring, and not just ritual and ceremony or art or creativity, but an honoring of wholeness and life itself. And when we do that kind of honoring, when we recognize the totality of life, the elements of life, the lineage and ancestry we may come from, the shoulders we stand on, when we really acknowledge and honor that, we also acknowledge and honor our own wholeness and recognition of what we are a part of, this great one life we are living together. Recognizing that wholeness includes our histories, that wholeness includes our lineage. And one of the great sadnesses of white supremacy is the loss of those stories, the loss of those ancestral stories and traditions and rituals and ceremonies, whether you lost those through forced assimilation, whether you lost those as a Native person who was not allowed access to language and story and ceremony and ritual, whether you lost as through the slave trade and unable to practice and access those stories and rituals, or whether you lost it because you had to assimilate to whiteness for your survival. The loss is real. And so when we go back and begin to reclaim those pieces and reclaim the wholeness of our own stories and lives and honor those people and those histories and recognize the shoulders we stand on, that in order for me to be here in this moment, all of these people and moments occurred to make this possible. And I honor that by honoring my own wholeness. And when I honor the wholeness of those stories and the wholeness of life itself, I'm honored in it. And you can do the same.
Hello, and thank you so much for watching today. I am so grateful for your presence. One way that you can support this work, reaching those around the world, is to text to give. It's an easy way to contribute and be a part of this mission of transforming lives. Thank you.
It's wonderful for us to think that they were all good people and did good things on the planet.
Yes.
Not necessarily the case.
Unlikely.
Heard some stories about one relative and I was like, what? I never heard about this relative. And it's like, this is why we don't talk about her that much. But I found out about it and I was like, okay, let me understand that all of these people lived lives. And whatever they did in the course of their life led to me being here.
That's right.
How can I understand them better? And if I can understand the expanse of my ancestors, their good deeds, their bad deeds, their deeds in between, I have to apply that to every other human being that's on the planet with me right now.
Amen. COVID high five.
I have to. I can't. Even if I'm adamantly against their worldview or their beliefs or their actions and stuff, I have to pull back for a second and be like, continue to see the humanity within them.
It's funny. I was talking just this morning with someone in our community about Howard Thurman saying that he believed like the real path to love, like agape love, as Martin Luther King would have said, is understanding, and that when we begin to understand a person's story, a person's history, even someone who we've deemed enemy or the one we don't talk about.
Yep.
What it does is it leads us to a greater understanding. And I believe it's through doing that research. So I love that you bring that up, because that seems to be happening. People are looking into their ancestry more and their lineage more and trying to learn those stories more.
Yeah.
I believe what that does is it brings us into a greater wholeness. It brings us into a connection into our own wholeness, and,
Yes.
and being willing to accept all those aspects, the ones that we want to keep in the shadows.
Yeah.
And it's important.
It is.
It's important that we open ourselves to those stories.
Yes.
You know, to those parts of who we are and how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think about that a lot, like, you know, the trauma and the joy. And I never want to diminish the trauma, but it's a part of the story.
Yes. It's
Right?
not the entire
And I
story.
know in my own healing process, it wasn't until I really got into a place of honoring the parts of my father, the parts of my father's family, even though there was some shadiness and some heinous behavior. It was also my love of music. It was also my dad, who would be bumping at the height of the stereo's capacity that I could hear from the end of the street coming home from school, and like, it's about to be on in my house.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's all of that. But it wasn't until I really was able to get to a place of forgiveness around the parts that were not so lovely that I could welcome the joy, the grace, the parts of myself that would not be in existence
Exactly.
but for that lineage.
We believe that one of the roles of the arts and of being practitioners of spirit is to make the invisible visible. We also believe that it is not the responsibility of those who have been made invisible to remind us that they are still here. Therefore, as committed allies, as artists, and as spiritual practitioners, we here at the Center wish to acknowledge and recognize the indigenous people and place where we stand. And we wish to recognize the Pueblo, the ancestral Pueblo, the Navajo, the Apache, and other indigenous peoples who have had a presence in New Mexico and who have traveled this land. We give gratitude to this land. We give gratitude to this land itself and to the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. We pay our respects and we honor the ancestors past, present, and future, and recognize their continued existence and contributions to our society. Please take a moment to honor these ancestral grounds and celebrate the resilience and strength of the indigenous peoples of this land, which we gather on today. We also would like to acknowledge the many people who did not arrive on this land by choice. We welcome everyone, however you arrived here, in this space, today and always. Aho.
Aho.
I speak my word of blessing today in gratitude and in honor of Frida Kahlo and fierce transcendence. In honor of Emma Curtis Hopkins, our foremother of the New Thought teachings, and of my uncle Tony Jones for reminding me to be true to myself and to spread love, joy, and laughter everywhere I go. Aho.
We travel upon the rain clouds of time, today and every day, dropping raindrops on this great land of ours, raindrops of love and peace and goodwill. We recall everyone who has come before us, all of our mothers, our parents, all those who have shown us the way today. As we gather here in love, I pray. Aho.
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 Grandmother, grandfathers, ancestors whose shoulders we stand upon, thank you. Thank you for your strength, your courage, and your resiliency that has guided my path. Thank you for bringing us to a place where we can become aware of just your sacrifices, but also what gifts you give us. We hear you in the wind between the branches. We hear you when you speak to us. And so I acknowledge the ancestors who've gone before us, knowing that what they give us sustains us. And thank you, water spirits. Thank you for keeping us healthy, and the reminder to keep you healthy, because you not only feed all brothers and sisters, you feed our animal family as well as Mother Earth. And for that, I'm deeply grateful. Aho.
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 Hello, beloveds. You are in for a treat today. With me is my sweet, 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 dear, dear, longtime friend, Khalil Ekulona of the No More Normal podcast hosted through KUNM. You have a long history of radio and TV. What was the morning show you did?
Good Day, New Mexico.
Good Day, New Mexico,
Yeah.
so he's probably familiar to some of you. And he is here to talk with us today about the Holy, Holy Uprising. His life experience is a beautiful, beautiful story of adventure and uprising and, you know, living outside the box and going beyond what maybe society or cultural norms have told you was available to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
So I'm so pumped. So one of the things that we got to talking to on the phone, and I was like, let's save this for our time together, is, you know, what I'm calling the greatest adventure of our lives, which is living from that, what I would call divine impulse, that divine urge. But, you know, that wisdom that knows in you, that often takes us down roads, you know, that are unexpected, unpopular.
Yes.
And you are no stranger
Not at all.
to that.
Not at all.
So tell me about one of those moments in your life where you were just moved by some inner impulse to a choice, to a step forward, to some moment that was unexpected.
It was 1995. I'm a senior in college. I went to Elon University, then Elon College. And I was sitting in my dorm room with my roommate and about six, seven other people. And we were watching rap videos, hip-hop videos. I love hip-hop music. It was Rap City we were watching. And at the time, this is 1995, so at the time, hip-hop was really in a wonderful revolution. It was becoming kind of popular across the country and the globe. But the message within a lot of hip-hop music was that of personal growth, was that if somebody did have a dangerous song out there talking about violence, there was always a warning like, this life is not for you.
Right.
They weren't inviting you into this life.
Right. Like,
They
come
were,
get some.
Yeah, they were letting you know what it's like, and if you decide, then this is for real, and morals and lessons, you know. And it felt like I felt that the position, and I still feel this way. Like hip hop is very intrinsic. I know it's a global music, but it's very intrinsic in its creation from African Americans, and I kind of felt like I began to see signs like wherever hip hop goes is where African Americans go, because so many people listen to it and make influential decisions on their lives. And we were watching a video, and it was one of the first videos that really glorified hedonism. It wasn't the only one,
Right.
but it was the first one in a long line of what was to come. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching it, I'm like, this is not good, this is not good. And people thought I was talking about the song. Well, of course, the song wasn't really that good. I'm like, the message, this is not good. And my roommate said, well, what are you going to do about it? And it was in that moment.
And how old were you?
I was 1995. I was about 21. You know, baby. You know, at the time, I had applications at the JFK School of Government, University of Georgia Law School. I studied political science. I was on my way to becoming a politician. You know, and everything. It wasn't a thought. This wasn't an aspiration as like, oh, I want to do this. This was everything within my being. My cells vibrated. And the thing that came to me was, I'm going to have to maybe drop the album that changes everything. And that
That's
moment,
amazing. I'm gonna COVID high five you right now.
okay, word. Thank you. And that moment, that feeling that I had, I spent the rest of the weekend pondering that physical sensation that came up and that engendered this me to make this proclamation, right? And I thought about it all weekend. And Monday morning, I went in to my advisor, who was the chair of the political science department. I said, stop the process. I'm not interested in going to law school anymore. I'm not interested in going to graduate school. I stopped the process with some of the job fair applications that I was in. I knew that I had to make that choice.
How much pushback did you get?
My friends thought I was a little bit crazy. My advisors were like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And I had no idea that it was really going to lead to this. The most pushback I got was from my parents, which was interesting because my parents always raised my siblings and I to go for it, to be rebellious.
And your mom was an artist.
And my father. And my
Okay.
father, you know? And it like, don't pay attention to society, kind of make your own thing. And then when I come back, I didn't really break the news to him until after graduation. I was also class president, so I gave a speech. And I had written this speech over and over and over again for the administration to approve. I got up on stage and I threw it to the ground and I spoke from my heart. And I told them.
That's a holy uprising,
Yeah,
Khalil.
I told them, live your dreams. Live your dreams. I know what society has planned for us. Live your dreams. I'm going to do mine. Fast forward all these years later, many different jobs, many different adventures, you know?
Right.
And because I chose this, what society has as stability, and I chose something different, I didn't have the things at 38, 39 that you would if you got the job and you kept the job and you saved in your 2-house car garage and things.
Yeah.
And at 40 years old, I went to a frat brother's wedding in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. Fly across the country from Albuquerque over there with my girlfriend at the time. And I'm running in, I'm seeing people. It was a reunion in sorts. I haven't seen these people in so long. But the most beautiful thing that happened, the groom's mother, who, you know, she's my frat brother. I've known her for a long time. She comes up to me for the first time I see her in years since we graduated college in '95. And she grabs me by the face and she says, "You look younger than you did when you were in college. What have you been doing?" And I just said, I've been following my dreams, you know? And I felt good. I knew that I made the right choice for me. I made that right choice. And that kind of gave me a little bit more fuel now that I'm fully an adult to continue.
Yeah. So tell me, you talked about in that moment watching Rhapsody and like being like, no, this there's something I can do here. There's something I can offer. And it rose in you, right? Like you said, you had a physical vibration experience in your body. Mm-hmm. Tell me about a time when you felt that and didn't listen.
Quite a few times. Happened quite a few times living in Los Angeles.
Where we met?
Yep.
We met 20 years ago this month, y'all.
Yep, in LA. And as a young person in LA, you know, I tend to believe you don't really become an adult until you're 25, 26, you know?
Or
and then,
35.
Yeah, it takes a while. Like you begin, you're a young adult then, and then it takes a while, but in those, and just the pressures and stuff, and I felt it a lot of times, like one time, for instance, living in Los Angeles is wonderful because I took the bus pretty much everywhere, and you would have people who I guess through mental illness we would categorize as schizophrenic and things, you know?
Okay.
But I believe that this universe is so expansive. Whoever created this universe is there to give you messages. They could come through any form. You necessarily, like, why would I be so arrogant to think that the messages the universe is going to give me are exactly what I prescribe and what I actually know? I'm forced to pay attention. So a lot of times, on a bus stop or walking.
Y'all, did you hear what he just said?
Yeah, right.
We are forced to pay attention because every face is the face of God.
Yeah. And I'm sitting up there on the bus stop, and a schizophrenic person would pass, and they'd be saying whatever. But as soon as they passed me, they would say something. I learned to listen because as soon as they would get within my vicinity, they would say something that had been in my thoughts for weeks, months, years, or a moment, and exactly was like, yeah, and then they go on their way. And I'm like, these are lessons. Why would I think that just because this person may be without a home, maybe he hasn't washed in months or weeks, does not have something to say that could apply to me?
That's valuable and wisdom.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. And so this occurred, and it made me think a little bit. And I was waiting for the bus, and off the bus comes one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And she sees me, and never seen her before, and she lights up. And I wasn't my bus. She lights up, and I was going to say something, but I didn't. I humbled myself through shame because I didn't have the money and things like that. And she kind of looks disappointed and goes on. And there was an older man sitting next to me, and he said, I'm 84 years old, and the one thing you cannot do, young man, is not take opportunities like that. I felt it, and I didn't say anything because I let my mind. I felt it with my body, yet I let my mind tamper that.
So you let what we phrase here in the Centers for Spiritual Living is you let misbelief
Yeah.
get in the way of truth.
Yeah, exactly. I did. But it enabled this wonderful lesson in, hey, there's going to be times and opportunities where you think you might not have it, or this or that, or according to the standards of whatever society you're in, you don't measure up. But if you feel it, go for it. They said, I'm 84 years old, and I'm glad I can look back at my life and not have regrets in moments like that. And I said, well, okay, Khalil, make sure that you follow that. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's because we do that, right? We know that we know, and we have moments that are undeniable, right? You know, and LA was one for me as well. Leaving LA actually was the moment of like, I gotta go. I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's waiting for me, but I gotta go. And we also spend a lot of time trying to negotiate
Yep.
with that knowing,
Yep.
right? Like as if it's too scary, it's too risky. Which I love the root of the word adventure means to arrive. Has nothing to do with risk or danger, or it means to arrive.
Yes.
To come home, right?
Yes.
To what we know is true. And I find that when folks get in relationship with that voice is when they get to have the life that is owed them, right? We have a birthright. We're here breathing on purpose.
Yes.
And if we can get out of our own way,
Yes.
we actually get to have that life,
Yes.
that fully alive, vital life.
Yes.
But how did you know at 21? I mean, a baby.
There were moments before that.
Okay.
That let me know. I just had a friend talk to me about manifestation, and she's like, when did you first realize you were manifesting? I said I could call back to when I was on The Price is Right in Los Angeles and won the Showcase
I forgot
Showdown.
about that,
Yeah.
yes.
You know, I could call back to that. That's like a thing, but
I want to find a clip of that, Khalil.
Oh, I got it. Just go on Facebook and type in Bob Barker is my homie, and it pops right up. Being with my sister, Ben, our friend, we were talking about it. We had found some books and learning transcendental meditation and things like this as young people in Los Angeles being adventurous, you know? And it's like, okay, we were playing with it because it was this concept, but when I look back at the totality of my life, there were moments when I was 4 and I saw someone do something and I want to do that. When I was in middle school and I saw my sister get up there and give a speech that moved everybody, and I felt it in my body. I said, well, you can get up there in front of a crowd of 1,000 people and say things that really move them. And it's not because I want to do this. It wasn't for adulation. I felt it. And I had confirmation because I saw my sister do it.
Right.
And I was like, this is my sister. She can do it. I know I can do it because we're of the same flesh.
Right.
You know? And
Right.
it makes sense. So there were moments all throughout life that I saw something, that I felt it, and then I went. 6th grade, my first foray into school politics, at least. I want to be class president. My friends laughed at me. I was going to be student government president. My friends laughed at me when I said it. We were sitting down. It was right before the nomination period stuff. And they were like, I can't believe this. We're going to go play ball. And then the little bird pooped on me. And there's a lot of, folklore that
Which
says.
they say that's good luck.
It's good luck. And it's right when I said it. And it pooped on me. And my friends were laughing. But I knew what it meant. And I just kept it quiet. And I did my thing. And I won in a landslide. Because I kept it. And that was one of the first where I knew something and I kept it to myself, But I recognized that when you get this feeling, it's not so much created from our head.
Right.
A lot of times we want to create things in our head, and it's like it's not so much that. You will feel it in your entire body, particularly your stomach, And whenever I feel that, there's no doubt. I don't care what the situation is. There's no doubt. There's no worry. If this is an extreme risk, go for it. If it's something that could put you in jeopardy, your job and stuff, I'm of the philosophy I'd rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Amen, amen.
Because I'm like, Because it's those feelings, it's those moments. When you look at the people we laud throughout history for being great or iconoclasts in whatever else they did, they took risks. They didn't listen to societal norms and do what you were technically supposed to do.
Martin Luther King said it is a mandate to be a nonconformist if you want to create change in the world.
If you want to create change in the world, yeah. If you want to continue to go along with things and as they are, then fine. Do that. It's your choice. It is absolutely your choice. But me, I'd like to create change and help the vision that I have and share it with others.
So it seems like one of the through lines in all of this has been this idea that you want to affect change. You want to affect people's experiences because of your words or your presence or your offerings. Where did that come from? How did you know that was important to you?
A few ways. One, it was natural. I've always felt like that a little bit, and that was fostered by my parents.
Okay.
My parents and my family. They're like, okay, there's a couple things you're going to do. You're not going to go out here on the street and act like no fool and embarrass the family, and you are going to do good. The way my parents broke it down, they're like, you were born, you were here on the earth, you are to do good things to make the earth better for when you were gone, and eventually you leave. That's it.
So that was from the get-go.
From the get-go. That has been the preeminent theme from the get-go. And it's like, okay, how can I make things better for others? And just in thinking about it, when you're young and you ponder, well, would I like to have children and stuff? Well, I don't want to have children and bring them into a place that's worse than what I got, you know? I'd like to make it better for them. I have no kids at the moment, but should I have kids, I want to do everything I can to make the experience for them and everyone else on the planet better. Not just my kids. Not just my kids, for all the kids, for everybody. Yeah. And I feel like that's entirely possible. Right. And that's just kind of been it. And that's kind of the family ethic is, hey, you make life better, not only for yourself, but everyone else as much as possible, as best you can. And you continue to go from there. And
yet you went into undergrad thinking political science, I'm going to make it better through politics. And you wound up founding Fresh Air and making it better through hip hop in those early days.
Yes.
Because your stuff is dope.
Thank you.
And it's in message driven, right? You're saying some things that people need to hear.
Yeah.
Is any of that still out there? Can people go find it?
People can find Fresh Air. If you go on Apple Music or I think Spotify, Fresh Air is slowly coming along. That is a project that we did in 2006. The group no longer exists, although we still talk, and there's talks about getting the band back together. But I've taken on the musical persona of Pope, Yes, Yes, Y'all.
Pope, Yes, Yes, Y'all.
And that is really wonderful because during those times, still finding oneself, if you listen, I sound different. Like the tenor of my voice even sounds different.
Wow.
And I was very much about saving the world. I was about saving hip hop, and by saving hip hop, I'd save the world because so many people listen to it. And I love it, and I'm very proud of those. But it wasn't the fullest expression of me.
Say more about that.
You know, it was just like, you know where Khalil stands on political stuff, but how does Khalil feel about marriage, love, relationships, sex? How does Khalil talk about himself, the contradictions that he has within himself? That didn't really happen. And over the years, and leaving Los Angeles myself in 2009 and giving up music, I love this, and I know this is why I made this choice, but I will give this up completely because I have to leave this place on this pilgrimage across the country. And then I find myself back in Albuquerque in that summer, at the end of that summer, and I get a phone call from you. You're like, hey, I'm back. And we go to meet a wonderful producer, Luis Guerra, that you know, and I'm sitting in the studio because you're like, I hear you're back in town. I'm working on a song. I need somebody to do a verse real quick. So this is like a week of me being back.
I didn't know you'd only been back a week.
After I gave up music and everything and was like, still wanting to be creative, finding myself. And I'm sitting up here in this man's studio and I'm like, oh, you have that thing? That's a new one. I know how to use the old one. And he says, I have no idea how to use it. Take it home. Learn it so you can teach me.
Luis Guerra in the house.
You know? So then he ends up selling it to me for super cheap, you know, and but here it is. I gave it up. And then in this pilgrimage, right where it came back, where I decided to start making music back in 1996 when I first came to Albuquerque, all this time, 13 years away, and I come back, and within a week, I get handed everything that I need to do to continue. That's not coincidence. That is.
God was all up in that.
That's God saying
God
that feeling from 1995, don't let it go. Don't lose that loving feeling.
Right.
Because you have work to do.
Because there's an adventure beyond our reasoning and beyond our logic and beyond our plans, beyond our vision boards.
Yeah.
That awaits us if we choose
Yeah.
to follow those feelings,
We have
to
to
follow those impulses, those urges.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing that story now.
Yeah.
And thinking back to that time. And yeah, I'm gonna go dig up that track too. It might need some bleeps, but I'm gonna dig up that track.
Yes.
Because I think you're speaking to, this concept, which you knew as a little tiny person, in the culture of your family, is that my preservation, my well-being, my individual experience cannot be untangled.
Yeah, it can't.
From the whole.
No, it can't.
Right? So that's Revolutionary Love, Valerie Kaur. See No Stranger was the name of the book that she shared this concept in. But she talks about, revolutionary love means that we're loving ourselves, we're loving the other, we're loving the ones that are easy to love, and we're allowing love itself to move us into love for the ones that we feel like we can't.
Yes, the ones that we feel like we can't. Yeah. How many people feel like they can't love someone? They can't even take the time to talk to other people these days. Yeah. And it's like, that's not going to get it. That's not going to get it done. No. And we have to open ourselves up. Yeah. Like my sister suggested, she's like, if you want to understand the desperation of someone who would storm the Capitol on the 6th, maybe read Hillbilly Elegy.
Amen.
To understand that.
Amen.
And understand that not everybody who stormed the Capitol was on that, but you understand where they are coming from. Don't mean you don't have to agree that it's right, but understand where it's coming from so we can all find it right. Because if you understand me where I'm coming from, and I understand you where you're coming from, then we have an idea of where we're going to.
That's
together.
right. Say that 5 more times.
I'm like, that's where it is, y'all. That's where it is. And with what we're facing in our state, in our country, society, and the globe. Yeah. This is what it's coming down to.
And it's now. Mm-hmm. Now's the time.
Absolutely.
Now's the time.
Yes.
All right. COVID high 10.
Yes.
We would normally be hugging it out right now, y'all.
Yes, we would.
Khalil, Ekulona, go check out Fresh Air and go check out Bob Barker Is My Homie. I'm going to. Love y'all.
Hey yo, it's set to explode. Send airwaves across the globe. Uplifted, the constant mode, let it ride. Let it be vibe by Watts and Bed-Stuy. Now watch Iowa flock to Best Buy. Let the west side of your town rock when we come down like sunshine and rain. If you want